I think the Thriving Students framework is a great approach, and fundamentally we're putting the needs of the students at the center, and that is a great starting point to work from. Now, in terms of specific city-school collaborations, it's really important that we do a better job collaborating around facilities. There has been an outstanding, yet to be finalized agreement about use of school grounds for other uses in the community that has been years in the making and still not completed. And as mayor, I will make sure that we finalize and implement those agreements. Because when we look at the reality that there are scarce resources. The schools don't have enough money for everything the schools want to do, and the city doesn't have enough money for everything the city wants to do. But if we put our resources together, we can accomplish a lot more than we can do separately. The schools have the buildings and the grounds. The city controls certain funds that pay for after-school programs, that pay for a variety of things from violence prevention to other types of enrichment programs, which can be planned in collaboration with the school district so that we're making the maximum use of the facilities and resources of both agencies. So you may, on the one hand, have money for buildings but not personnel, and on the other hand, have money for personnel but not buildings. If we put that together, we should be able to combine things like parks and rec programs with school grounds, to combine funding that funds after-school programs with school facilities. And it isn't that none of this has been done. There are already important steps being taken, but there hasn't been a systematic approach to fundamentally look at the resources together. The other thing I will do as mayor is make sure we're collaborating much better on seeking new funds, whether that's federal, state, regional, or ballot measures, that the city needs to not undermine the work of the schools and needs to be an active partner. So, for example, as the federal government makes funds available for things like building rehab to reduce energy use, now there's a pot of money that isn't technically school money, but certainly that's a pot of money we should be working together to access to support our schools in rehabilitating the buildings and becoming more energy efficient and thus saving money in the long run going forward. We have another great example of a collaboration in terms of the new shared library at 81st Avenue in East Oakland, and that's another example we need to harness and create systematic approaches so that the buildings and grounds and facilities can be used throughout the community in multiple ways. I support the plan of health clinics in our schools. That also has been begun, but a lot of work remains to be completed. And we need to see this as a full wraparound effort, such as the Harlem Children's Zone model, where we're really bringing in all the community partners and dealing with students holistically, because if their fundamental health care isn't being dealt with, that also will undermine student learning. And so those are examples of the approach I would bring. But fundamentally, it's about using the resources wisely and recognizing what are the components that the school can bring to the table, what are the components that the city can bring to the table, and how do we tap in other resources, like the Port of Oakland, which is often not part of the discussion, that has certain resources that could be brought to the table. How do we do a better job of tapping state and federal and regional funds together? And I'm committed to working together on the areas around the schools, because often the school leaders themselves can't control what's going on in terms of the streets and the sidewalks and the public safety that may be just outside the school grounds, but have a real impact on the school. And that's something that is squarely the city's responsibility and that I commit to working with the school communities to strengthen.